So the chromatic scale is one of those scales which is relatively easy to play. The mechanics of it are relatively straightforward, but applying it over music can be quite tricky. So I thought I'd split this into two halves and do it over a couple of weeks. This week I'll just focus on the mechanics of playing the scale. Now the chromatic scale itself is basically every note, every fret, every string could potentially be part of the chromatic scale. Or if you were playing a piano, it would be all of the keys, all of the white and the black keys together would make the chromatic scale. And playing it, the easiest way of approaching it is to think about it in groups of 4 notes, because you're using 4 fingers of your left hand. So for example, if I was starting on the 7th fret of the E string, I'd start with these 4 notes, using my 4 fingers. So now I've just played the 10th fret of the E string. I've got a choice here. I can now either reposition my hand so that my first finger's on the 11th fret and play those 4 notes, or I can move my hand onto the 5th string. And the way I do that is I move back 1 fret before I go across. So if I start here now, I'm starting on the 6th fret. Again, I can apply the same pattern, so I can either relocate my hand to the 10th fret, or I can move back 1 fret and across the string. And similarly, from the D to the G string, I can do the same thing. So again, I've just moved back 1 fret. Now the G to the B string is slightly different because the tuning's slightly different. Obviously, if you stay on the G string, you just relocate in the same way. But when you go from the G to the B, you stay on the same set of frets. So. And then finally, B to E, you fall back to that old pattern. And obviously on the E, all you can do is work your way up the string. Now, turning this around, so going from an ascending pattern to a descending pattern, the easiest way of doing this is to do a 1 fret slide. And it doesn't really matter whether you ascend 1 fret or descend 1 fret, they both work. And similarly, if you were turning it around the other way, starting from a descending to an ascending, you do that 1 fret slide again. And similarly, you can ascend if you want. Coming back down, you use exactly the same pattern, so you can either, for example, slide back, relocate your hand, or you can move across the strings, and this, when you're descending, you move 1 fret forward, apart from when you go between the B and the G strings and you stay on the same set of frets. And for all of the other strings, you just move 1 set of frets forward when you're crossing them. Now it doesn't matter what order you do this, what order you decide to change the strings, or where you move your hands, but you can apply those 2 principles to get you pretty much from anywhere on the neck to anywhere else on the neck. So for example, you could use it for a let's say 3-octave G to G. And then back down again. And as I say, you can relocate whenever you want and wherever you want. So that's the chromatic scale. So have fun with that, and as I say, in a few weeks' time we'll talk about target tones and I'll talk about how you use it over chords. So experiment with it, have fun, and I'll talk to you next time.